Thank you for joining our webinar today. We're extremely excited to provide you and your PMO with a look into how you can best leverage our latest solution, Projility PPM, to improve overall planning, delivery, and reporting across your projects. My name is Annie Levand, and I'm with a Microsoft Gold partner called Projility. We've been implementing Microsoft project and portfolio management solutions for over 18 years for large enterprises, including everything from engineering, construction, IT, and new product development. PMOs and CIOs typically come to us when they can't easily explain what's going on across all their projects. They don't know what resources are working on what work, and they have a hard time getting consistent reports and metrics to make project-based decisions. We're known for having a 98% on time, on budget track record for successfully implementing these solutions for clients. We offer services and solutions in 3 core areas: deployment and consulting services, Projility's core business. We provide professional services for successfully planning and implementing Microsoft Project Portfolio Management, including Microsoft Project Online, integrating PPM with line of business applications, and delivering strategic portfolio management solutions to support top-level management planning. We also have a growing Microsoft Power Platform practice, where we are actively working with clients to build applications, workflows, and reports to automate their most important business processes. Projility also offers a set of pre-built software solutions and accelerators based upon 18 years of experience, including a set of Hammerhead products that provide improved access to your cloud PPM data, accelerate access to visual reports and dashboards using Power BI, connect data between your PPM system with Microsoft Teams, and extend connectivity into Active Directory to improve visibility, insight, and control over your work people and projects. Finally, Projility provides post-implementation support services, including expert care, designed to assist your PMO with gaining on-demand expertise on the solution supported. We also have a full online automated e-learning offering that can improve consistency and adoption for users of your project management tools. We have upcoming webinars covering sessions on best practices for project PPM processes and tools. All virtual webinars will start at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can register for these events through the Eventbrite link provided or by searching Eventbrite Projility in your browser. Hope you can join us for these upcoming sessions. All videos from this and previous series are available on our best practice playlist on YouTube listed on this page. Topics range from managing your digital transformation program using PPM technologies to integrating PPM with agile and line of business applications. Feel free to subscribe and access this library at any time and share with your colleagues. If you have any questions as you watch the presentation, please log them in the questions and answer manager at the top of your team screen, and we'll read those towards the end of our session. With that, I'll hand the presentation off to Rob Hirschman, partner here at Projility. Rob, the floor is yours.
Thanks, everyone, and we appreciate everybody joining us for today's webinar. We're going to be talking about how you can do a more effective project execution delivery with our new Projility PPM solution. As Annie mentioned, if you have questions, please log them in the Q&A manager. We'll go through a quick overview of what Projility PPM is, give you an overview of the solution and some of the different process areas it's designed to support, walk through a solution demonstration, kind of end-to-end in terms of planning and managing your projects and some of the benefits of it using this technology, talk about architecture and licensing, give you some evaluation options, and finally answer any questions you might have. So, why Projility PPM? Why did we go out and start to actually build out or design our own solution directly addressing this market? Well, we've spoken over the last couple of years to over 900 PMO directors and IT executives who really shared a common set of challenges. They needed a way to address core fundamentals of planning, delivering, and managing projects, but gaining better visibility into who's working on what. And over 70% of these executives said if they had a solution that was simple, easy to use, that took them into kind of a crawl and walk stage, it would really move their organization forward. So really another key concern was user adoption. They couldn't get people to use a lot of the tools and technologies they had. They couldn't get the data to make good decisions. With this in mind, we set off a little over 2.5 years ago to first identify a solid platform that would support these requirements, was secure, was completely cloud-based, and allowed for the flexibility to start small and grow over time. We then went out and worked with one of the leading providers in the industry who's known across the world for strategic portfolio management applications, and using the requirements we met, over 900 executives brought together an all-in-one platform, all delivered through the Microsoft Azure cloud. And it integrates with tools like Microsoft Project, Teams, and Power BI, again, based on Azure. So, what can Projility PPM provide? Well, if you look at the chart that's here, we really wanted to do end-to-end project and portfolio management. It's a solution that can be set up and configured and updated without having to do any kind of coding or development work. So you don't have to be technology experts. You really have to be experts in the project delivery lifecycle and what you're looking to do. Fully software as a service. And if we start kind of at the top, first it helps you start with your project intake, getting new projects into a request queue and being able to go in and evaluate and select them. Project management and tracking is really the core of the application, and having the capability to go in and build and manage all aspects of your projects, which is really what we're going to focus on today. That also ties into resource management. And we found out from, again, talking to those executives, it's very hard to deliver on projects unless you have resources that can deliver on those. So being able to glue projects and people together was a key requirement we've seen from our clients over the past 18 years. And this solution does bring those things together. You'll see that. Additionally, a lot of organizations want to do budget and cost tracking within the actual core application. So actually having a way to actually plan and manage your budgets and your finances in the tool at a basic level has become ultra critical. As we get into the delivery and collaboration on the project, RAID, risks, action items, issues, and deliverables, that being able to track all that in one place is really important and report off that. Being able to track and manage changes as they're coming in, because change happens on every project out there. So you have to be able to track, manage, and apply those changes within a project. Finally, having the ability to collaborate using common tools Microsoft provides today, tools like Microsoft Teams and SharePoint. And at the top level, being able to provide visibility and controls for your PMO so they can see all the projects in one place, understand when things happened and why they happened, and put corrective action plans in place, and having reports and dashboards for the different levels, whether it's directors and executives, project managers, or people actually delivering the work. So Projility PPM is really designed around the core tenet that there can be a single solution that brings all this together. But really, what does it take to get there? So, when we talk about it, I know different analysts like Gartner and Forrester have different models. They talk about a crawl, a walk, a run, and a fly. And we find that the majority of the clients we work with are somewhere between a crawl and a walk. They really need to get some of the core blocking and tackling or fundamentals in place to deliver and manage their projects before they get into the more strategic planning elements. And that's really where Projility PPM can help. So we look at the crawl phase. We're talking about basic project requests and intake, doing basic project planning and scheduling and delivery, being able to track project-related metadata, and having reporting. As we move into the walk stage, this is where the execution is actually happening, where we're doing some basic scheduling, some basic resource planning and management, maybe tracking time and work, capturing your risks, your issues, your action items, decisions, and changes, and having status reports and dashboards. And really, that's what this solution is all about. While a lot of organizations will really pitch you on kind of the run and the fly, moving to an entirely new phase of your life cycle, without the crawl and the walk, you don't really have the data to be successful moving forward and improving your processes. So Projility PPM is really designed around the crawl and walk. So really, when we talk about the different roles, Projility PPM is really designed around 4 core roles that might interface with a project during the life cycle. And if we start at the bottom right, it's always about the project manager who's planning and managing the work, tracking and managing all elements of the project in one place, not having to pivot between different tools, tracking all the risks and action items, but being able to collaborate with the people on the bottom left, the team members who are assigned tasks and able to collaborate and understand what they need to work on and what they need to do on a day-to-day basis. The delivery of the project is really between those folks. And if that really isn't done successfully, the stuff at the top doesn't really matter. But there are some key roles for people who are making management decisions. On the top left, you have your portfolio managers or folks in the PMO that are really interested in the top level view of all the projects going on. How are the projects delivering? What are the new projects coming in? What do we do and when can we do it? And importantly, do we have really good controls over the projects we're delivering today so we can deliver on the commitments we've made to the business or IT organizations? And finally, on the top right, we have the functional managers. These are the people that are responsible for funding a lot of these projects and providing the resources to deliver on these. They may be people in finance or operations or human resources. They say, I'm going to give you a couple of my people, or I want to leverage some of the IT resources for this. They're really interested in results and people, and that's really where their stake is in the process. So Projility PPM is really designed around these 4 key sets of roles and the successful delivery of projects to your enterprise. Without further ado, let's get in and show you the technology and show you some of the things this tool can do. I'm going to go out to my Projility PPM homepage. Again, it's a purely web-based architecture. Everything is based on a browser-based technology. So you can see I've logged into Projility PPM, and then I have a series of different tabs here on the left. But before we even get to that, the main page really displays for us a couple of key things. The first one you'll see in the middle of the page, my pending items. So when I log in, I can easily understand all of my pending items, things like events that are coming up, maybe stage gates that are occurring on projects, maybe it's deliverables that I have due on projects. It can even be tasks or activities on those projects all in one place. So I don't even have to go to a timesheet or a list of my tasks just to see all the things that are upcoming. Then I can see what it is. Is it a task, a deliverable, or a gate? What is the start date? What is the end date? What is the due date? And what is the status of that right here? Additionally, on the right, I can see what the things are that I'm responsible for that are late. So maybe there's a kickoff coming up and I haven't done proper preparation around that. It's pending. Or there's an idea review. I can very quickly be alerted, and it's really going to drive me to action to easily understand what I need to do on a day-to-day basis. If things are coming due or they're past due, how do I act on those? So this homepage or dashboard is unique to each user. We thought it was really important. We were really working to design this application. It's really based on the end user and what drives their day to be successful in planning and managing their work and rolling that up to different projects and activities. So if I come over here and I look at the idea review and one of my late tasks, I can click on that. It's going to give me all the information about the idea, such as the dates, also the roles. Who else is responsible for this? Who owns the idea? Who is it assigned to? Do I have anybody else? But then I can come over here and look at comments. And the comments are going to tell me, is there an ongoing conversation about this? What is the status? This needs to be completed by the time the team is assigned before we start the project. It's really important stuff to know. But up here, you'll see it's pending, and this is where I can actually look at more information about this specific item. In this case, I can look at the workflow. So I can say, okay, this specific item, it's pending right now, and once it's done, it's completed, and then it'll move to an archive stage, or is it in progress? So what I can do is I can progress this right from within the idea page right here. It's really nice, and it drives people to action simply by showing up on their homepage. And again, this is a combination of different things, tasks, deliverables, action items, whatever they are, right on the homepage. Okay. From there, I'm going to launch off into a specific project I'm going to act on. You'll see on the left side, I have the quick launch bar where I've got portfolios, projects. I can put in a project request. I can look at a team, but I really want to come down here to my favorites. And my favorites really is one place I can go to star things throughout this entire system and have them show up that I'm always going back to, almost like a favorites in my browser. You can see I've got an IT team. This is the team that maybe I'm responsible for managing. I always want to go in and see how they're doing and what they're working on. I've got an idea that came in for a new data warehousing project. Maybe that's an idea I submitted or it was applied to me, and I'm going to go and review that. Then I've got two projects. I've got project 16, if I hover over it, it's the Add CRM module. And then I've got another project here for a new product we're developing right now. So anywhere in the system, I can star it and create a favorite, and it'll show up here in my favorites, which makes it really nice. So in this case, I'm most interested in the project I'm delivering today, my CRM project. I click on that, and now I get to a page where I can see everything about that project all in one place. I don't have to hop between different sites and applications and schedules. It's all here in one place. And on this main page, think of it as my live dashboard for this project. I can see here I've got different widgets. In the middle, I have the spend to date. Here's how much we burnt through our total budget of $1,000,012. How far along are we? We're about 35% progress-wise on the right in the total delivery of the project. I can have stage gates. So as a project moves from stage gate 1 to 2 to 3, I can see exactly where it is. In this case, we're at stage gate 3. And if I look at the right, I can see the status of each of the stage gates. We can see in stage gate 3, it's currently stalled as of a date in March. I want to maybe find out a little more about that. How do we move it to the next stage gate here? And as I go down, I've got a matrix for all of our project risks in this case. So I can see, do I have any severe risks and what they are and what their certainty of delivery is, moderate, where they are. And then I can click on these and go right to my risk register. Finally, I have a widget here for budget versus actual cost. I can see the breakdown of my budget in gray, how much I was planning to spend on material, expenses, labor, and subcontracting, and how much I've actually spent to date. You can see I've exceeded, I've almost doubled my expenses to date on the project, but I'm under my material cost and I'm under on subcontracting and other expenses as well. And these widgets are all live looks into the data. And I can create other widgets that give me different subsets or looks into the data. Likewise, this dashboard can view information for different users. I may have, in this case, I'm a project leader, I'm a business manager. I want to go in and look at this, but I may have a view for my team members or a view for my directors or managers. So it's really portability around these dashboards displaying data on my projects. And importantly, you'll see there are a bunch of tabs of information here. There's a tab called description, and that's going to give me all the information about this particular project. What is the description? We're going to do this to improve our social media outreach. What are some of the goals of the project? Over here on the right, we're capturing what are the different roles. As a project manager, I'm playing the role of James. I have different team members that are associated. There's different stakeholders that are really really reliant on the results of this project. And I can oversee here, what type of a project is it? In this case, it's a business improvement. It could be an administrative effort, a corporate project or an IT. It could be part of a strategic program, part of one of the divisions or departments, and understand if there's a project that comes after that. I can have predecessors and successors to projects themselves, which is kind of unique in a project management system. I can't start the 28 project until the 16 project completes. If we go along the top here, we have a tab called Status. And Status is going to show us a lot of information about the project. There's always things happening and changing on the project. We want to know about that. In this case, we can see at the top, we have percent complete. We're 35% complete. How much of the budget have we used? 30%. 30% of that. The duration, it's 212 days. What is our baseline start and our actual start, our baseline finish and actuals finish? And we can go down here to things like KPIs. What is the overall health of the project? What is the trend? These can be all set up based off different directions, improving, stable, or in trouble. Project doing well, not so well, doing pretty poorly. We have little images of little suns and moons and clouds after them as well. How are we doing technically on the project? And this is information as a project manager I may want to track, as well as my business objectives. How are we doing business-wise? What are our finances? And these are all, again, pre-built fields of information that can all be used to track this kind of data. Additionally, we have an overriding score that's being calculated based off data in the system, and then we can have a technical score and a business score and a risk score here as well. So we can do lots of scoring. It could be very simple, just percent completing KPIs, or we can extend that out. We have lots of options here to show as much or as little information around this as possible. But what's really, really unique about this is I can actually look at the trending. So for instance, if I wanted to come here and look at percent complete, I want to know when things changed. It's actually going to keep a snapshot and a history of every time percent completed changed on my project, so I can see when things changed, what they changed to, and why they changed at all. Or if I want to come down here to KPIs, I can look at the trending, and I may want to look at, when did it go from bad to better to really in a good spot right now. I have a full history. So Projility PPM has the ability to do this snapshotting and viewing this history, the history of each of these different metrics you have, which is really, really nice. So again, you can understand what's happening and why it happened. There's a tab here for labor and finances. So as I'm delivering the project, I'm going to keep information up to date. How many total days is the project? How many days of work have we estimated or duration for the resources? And what's the actual to date? So we're about 30% of the way through the project. We can also capture our costs. So we had a budget of cost of a little over $1 million, $1.1 million. We've spent $335,000 to date. Then we can break that down into budget cost for resources, for planned and actual costs and material costs. So we can really see the breakdown of this, and we can easily go in and update and change this information. But we have other tabs. We have labor. Labor costs us money. At the end of the day, our biggest expense on most projects is labor, whether it's internal resources or contracted people as well. And the really nice thing about this is we can go in and look at what the cost of different resources is over time. So I can see my developers, my budget was 31,000. I planned for 42,000. I'm actually at 32,000 now. And anything that goes over that threshold, you see it's going to cost us more. So we can explain away, we're spending more on development resources as well as project management right now, because that's what's costing us more. We're doing more work. And we can do this over time. We can do what we call time phase labor costs here. But we also have what's called a histogram at the bottom, and this allows you to really pivot between people and project work. And if I just arrow this up, now we can see on a trend when we're spending our resource money. Q1 looks pretty flat. Q2, that's where we end up spending a lot. Q3, we're spending a lot as well. And then we go down in Q4. So we can see what the overall spend on our project is in terms of how we're investing our money in the people. But also we can see a cumulative curve here too. The budget, the plan, and the actual. And where do we exceed that? We start to exceed it during the first quarter, sometime between Q1 and Q2. We start spending a lot more money on these resources. So if we want information about what's happening, what we're spending money on, we can see all that here as well. Additionally, you can see there's a non-labor cost component here. We can start to capture things like material and expenses and subcontracting. And again, we have a histogram on that. When are we spending? Looks like we're spending it all in the first month of the year. And then again, the cumulative curve about how and when we're spending it against our plan and our actual. So Projility PPM brings all this together into a single pane of glass where you can track and manage all of this information. We move forward to another tab, the Gantt chart. Most organizations start with, hey, we need a project schedule for our projects. Well, Projility PPM incorporates that all here as well. What we're going to be able to see is this progress of the project schedule as it's moving forward. So we can see the hierarchy of our WBS here. We can start to see tasks, phases, activities, deliverables and milestones, just like we build out in any schedule in Microsoft Project. We can have our percent complete. We can see elements such as where is it in the workflow, so you can actually apply workflow to tasks and activities here and get them approved. You can also, as you're assigning resources to tasks and activities, see them all here and allocate a percentage of their time to specific activities, tasks, phases, deliverables, and milestones. Finally, on the right, you will see the Gantt chart, and you will see the visualization here. And we can have different views of this. We can compare baselines. Our main baseline versus baseline 2 or 3 or 4. We can edit these, so we can have baselines just like in Microsoft Project. In fact, we can actually take our project schedule, which we created in Microsoft Project as an MPP file, and bring it in and have it now represented in the Projility PPM tool. So as a PM, maybe I like working in a Microsoft Project. Perfect. Work in there and build my schedule, publish it into the system, and then keep it up to date here through the tool. And it's a very flexible Gantt. You'll see there's a timeline at the top where I can hover over it. And on the right side, I can drag this over and start to drag and drop information. If I want to move a field over, I can just drag it over. And I've got that information here on duration and effort and percent complete all in one place. So it has a very flexible Gantt chart that integrates with your Microsoft Project desktop client. So really nice that you have the history, you have the trending, you have the ability to apply workflow. Then we can look at all elements of the project and start to see the flow down and activities, tasks, milestones, dependencies. It's all right here. Files at the top, the next tab, we typically see most people using Microsoft Teams for this. So if you did want to store your actual data, your files in the tool, you could do that. Same goes for comments. Comments are typically done in Microsoft Teams. We're going to show you how you can use a Teams user interface to access this data. But we also have something called resource boards. So we showed you before how we're spending money on our resources. This actually lets us take a look now and view people's work on the specific project. So as we start assigning resources with our manager to the project, we can start to understand if people are over allocated, why that is. Are we assigning them to too many tasks on this project? So I look down here, I see in the bright red, I have John. And John is working a certain amount of time on the idea phase, the planning, the execution, and deployment. And I can start to see I have periods where he has more work than he actually has net availability. So I can see he's 8 hours overbooked here because he's already assigned on a task and he's assigned to 2 tasks on this project. Same thing goes for Stephanie down here. What this allows me to do is start to identify resource bottlenecks to delivering the project. So if the project's going to get delayed because of resources, I can actually see that all here in one place. And that's a really, really nice feature that a lot of other technologies don't have. So I can start to determine, are people overbooked or underbooked on certain activities, so I can or can't deliver. But there's also other tabs of information here. There are requirements. So what are the upcoming requirements that I haven't yet staffed on this project? How many hours are needed? And who are the resources that I'm soft booking? Before I commit them, I want to see what the requirements are for these people and my team as a whole. I can also do something called resource analysis. And this is something we actually spent a lot of time with our partner on, really developing this. This is a view over the entire individual roles that different people will play on a project, how those roles are allocated to the project over time, and then the source of those resources. So you can start to identify, again, bottlenecks. So again, I can look down here at someone like John Doe. I can click on John Doe, and I can see during the month of August, he has a capacity of a certain amount. He's assigned more work than he has capacity, and he hasn't booked any actual work yet. Versus in the month of July, I can start to see he's been assigned and what his capacity is. And just like before, if I click up here, I have all the information specifically on John. I can see the specific activities. So I've got phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 where I'm allocating him. I have his utilization here. What is the actual capacity and assignments? Is he working on projects, non-project activities, or NPAs, or recurring activities that's pulling away from his ability to actually deliver on this particular project? I have a visual histogram where I can see assignment work, his actuals here, and then the capacity he has to deliver, and finally his capacity or a cumulative curve here too. I can very quickly drill down from an assignment and a requirement down to a specific person to really understand what the challenge is. If I see someone's over allocated, why is that? Then I can take action on that right from here. So again, really being able to easily understand resource issues on projects while you're in the project versus having to hop out and go to a whole new interface. That's really one of the goals we have with this tool, is to bring projects and resource planning together in a way that's easy to use and easy to understand. Okay. And those are some of the tabs of information we would typically be managing as we're planning and delivering our work on our projects. But there's also other information on the left. You'll see there's a tab for phases. So phases will now show us what phases we have on the project idea, planning, execution, and deployment, where we are, how far along in the life cycle we are there any comments on those? Again, we can do our stage gating and our phasing here of the project as well. We always have what we call a Kanban view of this too. One of the really nice features that we worked on a lot was the ability to do progress snapshots. So over time, as a manager, a project manager, you want to share with management where a project is and how much it's changed and it's gone positive or negative direction. This actually allows us to snapshot each of our status. So you'll see in 2021, we had 9 different statuses. Each one had a percent complete, a health, a percentage budget used. There were details on each one. So we can see exactly where we were when we started the project in February versus in the month of September. Then in 2022, our other status report and our 2023 status report. We can see the trending of all of our status within a single view, a single window right here. And anytime we want to know, hey, where were we in 8/22? We click on it and we have a full status report here coming in. We see all the status, the percent complete, the description of what's been going on this month. We see a project snapshot. So we see everything from the costs and the labor. If we're doing earned value, we can do that here, but also the roles and the resources. So we can get very granular and very high level with our status, but importantly, explain the story behind the project. We went from not doing so well to doing it really well to kind of we're fading back in a different direction. How do we correct all of that? And this becomes a set of progress reports that we can use in our dashboards. We also have change requests. Change requests are always going to come in. We have the ability to capture them, triage them, and put them through an approval process using a Kanban methodology. So we may have something for a new change request that came in. We can put in what that change is. Need additional funding to finalize scope, give it a description. What project is it? And then we can create that as a change. We would click on that. And then what we can do is we can move that or progress that here by adding information. What is the deadline on that change? When do we have to have it approved by? What are some comments? What are some of the risks if we don't implement this change and risks if it's not implemented? What we can do is we can save this. And then what we can do is we can now progress this to the next stage. Now we can approve it or put it in a submission phase. And now that's going to go into a workflow that's going to then alert people that there is a new change there that might go over to management, and that's in the submitted phase. Then maybe we want to move it over to analysis. We can start doing analysis of that change before we move it into a review stage and then accept that change into the project. So it has a Kanban board that allows you to drag and drop it over, update it, and allow people to interact with this change throughout the life cycle. Okay. And that's really the ability to do changes. And we can always go up in the application by hitting the bar here, back into our project. And now we can go into things like beyond changes, we now have features. So let's say you're using an agile methodology or some kind of a hybrid methodology to deliver your project. You have your waterfall, your work breakdown structure, but there's certain activities that are going to be done in an agile format, like delivery of certain features or iterations. What you can do is you can actually create those in the tool, put them into your features log here, and then track and manage them as they go through their life cycle. Again, we can see the type of feature it is, resource, technical, third party, or process. What's the priority of the feature? Following your methodology of Kanban or Agile. What's the severity of the feature? Who owns it? What's the resolution? And again, we can follow our features through the life cycle. It's not going to replace your DevOps system, but it's going to augment it from a project planning perspective. So you can see everything in one place. So the ability to support multiple methodologies if you need to is all here in the tool. Additionally, if you have any stage gates, they will all be here in the tool as well. So you can actually track stage gate 1, 2, 3, and 4, see exactly what's the story, and then drill into each one. And finally, your traditional risks, issues, action items. You'll be able to log all of your risks and issues here as well. In a grid, add a new risk, put it in a Kanban, even look at it in what we call a master plan view, a timeline view, so you can see when these risks could potentially occur. The visibility of customer status could occur in March versus the GDPR breach could come later in September. We can put any of them in a Kanban or on a planning type of view or put it in a grid or a chart. And really, again, supporting multiple ways people work all in one simple, easy to use tool. Let's get back to our project here. So one of the really nice features we found is a lot of people work in Microsoft Teams on a day-to-day basis. They want a way to visualize and update this information. So if you come over to the top of any project, I can get what's called a Microsoft Teams link. This is going to create a link specifically to be inserted in Microsoft Teams, so I can now share this information with my team members working on the project. They can access the project right in Microsoft Teams. So I'm going to hop over into Microsoft Teams now. This is the Microsoft team we've set up for this particular project, the CRM social module. We're going to use Microsoft Teams in this case to manage all of the documents related to our project. All of our build documents, our change management documents, requirements, they're managing those in Microsoft Teams just like they would any other work they would have. From a details perspective, it's actually going to get me in here, and now I can actually interact with the project data just like I did on the other side. It's got the description, status, the labor, it's all here, and I can look at and update and view this information here just like I would over in the browser. So I can embed this entire application in Microsoft Teams and work right here in Teams. But there's other things I can do in Teams as well. So I can come up here to status reports, and let's say you had a Power BI status report. You wanted to pull data from that and run a weekly status report. It's going to pull this up, and this is actually Power BI pulling off the data in our system. Just set it up for this project here. I pick that CRM module project, and now you can see we have a project status report in Power BI for this particular project. So if you do want to report out with Power BI, you can do that. You can see we've got the description of the project, the trending and budget and schedule is here, the accomplishments in the plan, even the key tasks and milestones and dates from the gates are all here down in the key tasks and major milestone area. I can see information such as how many tasks are in progress, 12% done, we're late to finish, and what our budget is here as well. So we really have the ability to look at this information and start to walk through it and say, well, who's on the project team? We can visualize the resources and the work and the capacity. If you remember, we're about 33% of the way through the work of the project. We can also look at things like the project burn down. How are we spending the work and the money on this particular project, and use Power BI as a conduit into this data. We can also share this report. We can actually publish it out, embed it in an application, and we can even set up a subscription. So this ends up in our inbox on a certain day of the week, and then management can see this in an automated way. So we can really start to use Teams for this. But as we get back into our details, one of the really nice features is the ability to leverage Microsoft Teams chat. If I come up to the top, you can see Teams chat, and there's an entire conversation going on around this project in Microsoft Teams. You can see management said, we're really impressed with the way you've picked up the schedule. Keep up the good work from Jane, the CFO. And then the project manager shot back, thanks, Jane. It's really been a team effort so far. So leveraging Microsoft Teams for what it's really, really good at. You could also embed the OneNote notebook, which comes along with Microsoft Teams in this. So all the status meeting minutes and comments are all here as well. And if you had other applications you wanted to embed in this here too. But we can use Teams really as the front end for all of this information. So really in summary, it can really support, Projility PPM can support the full life cycle of project planning, delivery, and management all in one application in a single web-based, easy to use tool. It's all accessible through Microsoft Teams, and your data is available through Power BI. But for a minute, let's put on the role of someone in a PMO, someone that's doing more governance. So this is where we can come into the tool. We'll go back to the home page. We can go to this area called projects. Projects is going to give us a top level view of all of the projects maybe in our domain or area. In this case, you can see we've got different groupings of projects here. We've got business improvement projects, corporate projects, IT improvement projects. And then from each one, we can look at them and see, who owns the project, who's the PM, what's the financial status, what's the technical status, what are some of the risks, what status are we, what direction is the project going, what are the start and finish dates, the duration, the percent complete, percent budget used, how much we've allocated towards the project, things like the type of project, a description of the project, what's the project going to do, where are we in the workflow, what's the health, and the actual cost. We can display as much or as little information about these projects all in one place. But there's some really nice views of this, so we can look across the portfolio from a PMO perspective. We can take a look at this on a Kanban board. So if we wanted to see everything that's in different phases, show me all the projects in execution versus planning versus deployment. And you'll see here, this is our CRM project. We can insert visualizations that are unique or branded to each project, which is really nice, and drag and drop these across different lifecycle phases if we want. We can even view our projects on a Gantt chart, or what we call a master plan. And a master plan is going to show us a top level across the portfolio of the projects we have, and then we can insert any key elements. So we have a project 18 here. that has a definition, a stage gate, and we can actually see those stage gates here on this integrated Gantt chart. So we not only have the overall project, we have stage gates, deliverables, key tasks, milestones. We can insert any elements we want. We can even see the baseline. Where were we versus where we should have been? How are we delivering on those things? And what are some of the scheduled dates here as well? There's a lot of flexibility in these views. If we wanted to insert these on our top level timeline, we can do that as well. Wanted to insert project 74 and maybe project 16 and maybe the stage gates on it in our timeline, we can do that as well. So we have this top level view to easily come in and look at the information all in one place. We can even look at it on a visual roadmap. And a roadmap is going to show us, just like it sounds like, all the projects that are in stage of improving, ones that are in trouble, and maybe I really want to know the ones that are stable. I can see the 3 projects that are in trouble, this new product, CRM, and then I can drill right into the project from here. Now I get to all that project detail I had before. So it really helps me get easy views across all the projects and the work I have going on across the enterprise. Okay. All in one place. I can even see all the project requests that are coming into the organization and start to triage those. Again, as before, look at them on a Kanban to see what's in different stages and take something from an initial review to a business case to a financial approval. So leverages a Kanban methodology. And finally, view these on a roadmap. So I can see everything's been accepted, everything in business case development, everything in draft, and everything in financial approval right now in a visual format. The next area we're going to look at in our next webinar is the teams area. And this is really all about doing more strategic resource planning, resource analysis, and portfolio management, something we're not going to get into today. But hopefully today you saw an application that's easy to use, well integrated, really helps you bring together your projects, your people, and your work all in one place, and has integrated reporting directly in the core application. So when we talk about it, we really wanted to demonstrate how Projility PPM as an application can address core parts of your project delivery lifecycle, from intake to the project delivery, to looking at resources, people, and money all in one place, to understanding the risks and issues associated with the delivery of the project, to tracking and managing project changes, being able to enable collaboration and tying into tools people use for collaboration like Microsoft Teams, being able to get visibility and controls within the application, as well as tools like Teams and Power BI, and reporting as well directly in the application and with tools like Microsoft Power BI all in one place. And that's really the goal of the application. So, what is the architecture of this technology? For an architecture and licensing, because this is a fully Azure cloud-based solution, it makes it really easy because you don't have to invest in any infrastructure here. To begin with the architecture, Projility PPM is delivered as part of a secure Microsoft Azure cloud application. You can see on the right here, it's delivered within that as software as a service, and then it's going to connect into by users through one of 2 parts of a web interface. So you've got a web interface for anybody who's logging into the tool. There are 2 different license types. One at the top is Plan 2. Plan 2 is designed for your PMO, anybody doing portfolio and resource management and project management, people that own and manage the delivery lifecycle and are reporting on it, they get a Plan 2 license. Everybody who's a team member who's just receiving that list of activities and tasks, viewing and updating and doing collaboration, they get a Plan 1 license. And these are per user per month subscription licenses with a 1-year commitment. Unlike a lot of other tools, it's a 3-year commitment. You can connect directly into the web interface and publish your information from your project schedule using Microsoft Project to do enterprise scheduling. You can view all of this information and update it through a Microsoft Teams user interface as we showed you. And then we can access the data, both for reporting with a tool like a Power BI to access the data sets, or to integrate it with a lot of systems you might have, such as a help desk system, an ERP system, an HR finance system, through the API that's built into the actual application. So this is the overall architecture, the different user interfaces, and then the licenses people would need, and how it's going to interface with other tools you may have in place today. So, what are some of the key differentiators of the solution we showed you today? The first one really is providing a single point of access for all your project data all in one place. The goal of driving action. You want to drive action, not just look at the data, but say, what do I need to do with this information? Do I need to update a task, move a deliverable date, update a resource, find out a constraint, add an issue or risk? What do I need to do to move the project forward? It's really designed to drive action behind the data, not just be data in and of itself. Importantly, as you saw in different parts of the tool, it maintains a history and a trending of each of the different components, which is really important if you're trying to understand when things happened and why things changed, so you can explain it to management and move things in the right direction. And that's really what all about project management is about. It's about active risk management and in process improvement to delivering projects on time and on budget within the scope that's been agreed to. You can easily view the project and resource status all in one place. And resource status we found is really, really important. Who's working on what? Are they over allocated on my projects or other projects in general? So I can identify the bottleneck. Most of the time, the bottleneck you're going to see is people not being available. So if you can identify that up front and see it coming, you can mitigate that in different ways. Change the scope, move the resources, move the work around, set expectations accordingly. And most systems don't give you project and resource information in the same place. Projility PPM does, which makes it kind of unique. It also supports different methods for delivering your projects. It's not just about waterfall projects. As we showed you, you can have a waterfall schedule, but you can have agile features in there as well. And most organizations are in a bit of a hybrid mode right now. They want to become more agile and more flexible, but they understand the value of having requirements and design components. So how do you combine these into a single project management tool? That's something Projility PPM is really designed to support. And then it can integrate with other tools you have like Azure DevOps or Jira. It also integrates with the Microsoft tools, the daily tools you use every day. Tools like Microsoft Project for scheduling, tools like Microsoft Teams for collaboration, tools like Microsoft Power BI for reporting. It's going to leverage those in the core application and extending the application out. Really important, so you don't have to have a huge change for a lot of your users. Importantly, it easily rolls up information in the tool to support any kind of management, visibility, tracking, and dashboards people are asking for today. You'll have the data to provide that information that again drive decision-making and action. And finally, is a fully web-based software as a service or SaaS application in the Azure cloud. Most organizations have already validated Azure, has full security behind it all. So again, you're not going out to some third-party cloud or some third-party application where you're swiping a credit card. It's designed to be enterprise ready. And the solution is really designed for large enterprises that are looking for an alternative or a better solution that leverages a lot of the investments and the tools, platforms they've already made investments in. There's a lot of choices out there. Hopefully you'll consider Projility PPM as one of them. So with that, we're going to open the floor to question and answer. Remember to enter your questions in the Q&A manager at the top of your screen. Annie, I'll hand it off to you to see if there are any questions.
Looks like we do have one question right now. For resources, can you see time allotted for specific people across multiple projects? For example, if a person has a bandwidth to give 4 hours per day to projects and they are on 3 different projects, can you see if they are overbooked across the 4 projects?
That's a great question, and absolutely. So the area we showed you is within the project, why they're over allocated. If we hopped over to the team, then we'll be able to look at that resource in the team and see everything that person is working on so we can understand why they're over allocated. So there's actually a view for more of a resource manager so they can get in and see that specific information. So today we were focused really on the project delivery, but definitely from a portfolio or a resource planning delivery, that's there as well. And that's something we're going to cover in our next webinar.
We will wait a couple moments to see if there's any more questions and then move on with the presentation. Seems there are no more questions. If you are looking to potentially evaluate Projility PPM to see if it's a fit for your organization or have interest in other PPM related solutions, please do reach out. We would gladly arrange a personalized demonstration or immersion experience, allowing you to get hands-on experience with this technology. Reach out via email, info@projility.com, and we'll set up time to talk. Thanks to everyone that joined our session today. We appreciate your time and we look forward to seeing you online for our next webinar. Have a great day.